Buddy clearly to this point in his career has been viewed as a guy who is more of a, like D'Anthony, a situational starter. He is not someone who has been, at least in the eyes of his coaches he had previously, not someone who you just pencil in every night and say, oh, well, he's in. He's definitely a starter. He fits against this team. He's matchup proof, et cetera, et cetera. And I would say part of that has worked to the Sixers' advantage. I think based on what Daryl Morey said publicly, based on the price that seems to have been quite low for the type of offensive value they're getting from him so far, it appears that they got him at a lower price because the league did not see the same value for him as maybe the Sixers did. That the Sixers looked at him and said, look, in this ecosystem, with our surrounding talent, with our needs, he can provide more value for us than maybe he would elsewhere. And that, to me, I think was part of the logic of trading for this guy at all and saying, hey, look, we're going to get, whatever it is, 3 months, 4 months, whatever, to look at this guy in our system, and we could potentially pay him, and we'll have more interest in paying him than, let's say, the rest of the marketplace. So maybe you're not necessarily having to outbid and put in a crazy contract on this guy at the end of it. Now, if he plays the way he has the last 3 nights, there's going to be a bidding war for Buddy Hield. So we'll see. But it's certainly a good problem to have. I think we'll see what happens when it's more of a Joel and Tyrese centric world and Buddy is not getting these opportunities to play make and run pick and rolls, and like his assist numbers will go down. His volume to an extent will go down. But I would imagine, and I'm sure you guys agree with this, his average shot quality is going to go up. Like, that's just, when you have Joel commanding double teams in the middle of the floor, that's just a natural, as my dog whines at me apparently to get off the air for whatever reason. He wants to go play in the snow. When you have Joel commanding doubles in the middle of the floor and Buddy's out there and Nick Batum is out there and Tyrese Maxey is out there, that's 3 guys that have quick releases, are great catch and shoot guys, and teams don't want to leave alone. So all of a sudden you're put in a scenario where you can't leave. And even Tobias is a good shooter, if a reluctant shooter. You put great shooting around Joel, you're really making it difficult for defenses to do anything other than single cover him or give up an open 3 to a 40%, 40+% 3-point shooter. And that has always been the holy grail. The question really is, do they hold up defensively? And defense is where they've had fewer struggles historically in the playoffs with Joel. It's always been, in most series that they've lost, it's been because they haven't been able to score enough. And I think if you make the offense as, playoff proof as it can be, you can overcome basically anything. If they can score points, I believe in Joel Embiid's ability to put together a title-winning defense with him as the anchor.
So I was talking to a good buddy who's been around the game of basketball for a while. Goes by the name of Glenn. What if we ask Tyrese Maxey to come off the bench?
Let's not do that again.
Don't speak that evil into the world, Derek. And whatever you do, don't say that Tyrese's idea was that absolute nonsense.
As you were saying all that, Kyle, about the defense in the playoffs, it made me think about the JJ Redick run during the 2 years that he was here. And the offense, sometimes, of course, it was there. And then when he got to the Boston series, some things went the other way. But it was more specifically about what the fan base, or what maybe you guys would write about at the time, and I talked about, was his defense or lack thereof on the other end. So I bring that up just to say that we have seen it a little bit. Is that a glimpse of what we're talking about, but maybe a little more athletic when it comes to Buddy Hield versus JJ Redick, and maybe getting around those screens. And as good as he was as a team defender and help defender, we know that part of the problem was him on his man, or getting through those screens and getting over the top of those screens to close out and not get torched on the other end. So it made me think of the JJ Redick playoffs, where we're talking about Buddy Hield, similar type of player, of course, with the shooting reputation that he has, not known as a defender. But could he be Are we going to see the same, or could it be a little bit different because of the foot speed and, of course, all of that stuff to want to in that particular game once we do get there?
Well, I was waiting to see if Derek would take that one over there, because I don't want to just continue to bogart over here. I would say this.
I can only speak for like 30 seconds at a time before I give out anyway, so go for it.
So a few things here, Devon. One, I would say the half-court offense issues against Boston in that series were horrible. They were pronounced. And I think you saw the limitations that Ben Simmons had as a lead ball handler back then. Certainly Robert Covington getting taken out of the lineup entirely in favor of TJ McConnell in that series. Well, not entirely, out of the starting lineup, I should say. But Covington being replaced by TJ showed you that they needed more creation, just another person who could do more than be a standstill shooter. You know, Cov was getting picked on quite heavily in that series and was not leaving the defensive impact. And so they had to take him off the floor and sub TJ in. So that's number two. And it's a fair point because JJ was hunted in that series. And I would say that Boston at that time, and certainly since, is a pretty unique team in that, especially back then, they were a hunt the bozo offense, right? That they were specifically designed to, hey, we got Jaylen Brown, we got Jason Tatum, we got Terry Rozier, even Marcus Smart to a lesser extent, were all guys that if Brad Stevens at the time felt that they had a favorable matchup, they were going to go and pick at it and pick at it and pick at it and pick at it. And the Sixers did a poor job of addressing that. So some of that, you could say, hey, they didn't do well from a personnel standpoint. They didn't respond well schematically. And those are two things that you would hope are better now. They didn't have ways to address it. But I do think, again, some of it starts with the offense. If your offense is better and you are constantly getting back and set, and you're not trying to defend a team that's getting cross matches in early offense and is in transition and is not pulling the ball out of their own basket, I think you are able to at least not completely eliminate, but definitely diminish some of the issues you would have by having a single poor defender or a couple of poor defenders on the floor. So we'll see, but I have more confidence that on a general level that a Joel Embiid team will have a good playoff defense than a good playoff offense.
Right.
At the very least, if they're going to die, I wouldn't mind seeing them die a different way. Like we've seen, Joel Embiid come out and not be as effective, whether that's because of injury or spacing. We've seen him play alongside two power forwards. Didn't go great. We've seen all kinds of different iterations of this team, non-shooting point guards. You look up and down this roster now, really until you get to, if you look at your starting five, let's say Buddy's in that starting five, Milton sort of as a six man, Kyle Lowry, Paul Reed, and Kelly Oubre as your rotation. Outside of Kelly, every non-center can shoot. And Kelly's he's a streaky shooter. He's not a non-shooter. He's just a very streaky shooter. I just want to see Joel with this kind of spacing. I really hope, not taking a dark place, I really hope he can come back just so we can see what it looks like because we've never had this kind of spacing around Joel. I do think Buddy is going to be a terrific fit alongside of them if that comes to pass. Like I said, do I have concerns about the defense? 100%. You just look at the top four of the guard rotation, throw five in there if Campaign plays as well. All five of them are exploitable to various degrees. D'Anthony's your best defender out there, but they just started the show off saying he's not perfect and can be exploited. But I want to see that kind of spacing. I want to see that kind of movement. I want to see what Nick Nurse can draw up, and I want to see how much Joel can cover up defensively. They just need to get that big fella back.
We all silly like the mayor.